Welcome to Texas 2036's virtual series, Straight Talk Texas, where you have a front row seat to conversations on topics important to our future. My name is Enisha Shropshire, Director of Board and External Affairs here at Texas 2036. Joining us today is Chris Nielsen, Executive Vice President at Toyota Motor North America, who will have a conversation with Texas 2036 President and CEO, Margaret Spellings, on the innovative ways in which Toyota has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic. Margaret?
Thanks, Anisha, and welcome, Chris. It's really fun to have you with us and to join our Straight Talk Texas series. You all are an amazing company and have done so much for this region and for our state. And of course, you personally have shown really a lot of leadership as well. So I want to dive right in with, reminding our fellow Texans, native and got here as quick as we could, why you're in Texas and what your growth here has meant to the company.
Well, Margaret, first of all, thanks so much for this opportunity. It's great to see you virtually. And thank you to you and Tom and the whole Texas 2036 team for the outstanding work that you're doing on behalf of the citizens of our whole state. And thanks for your question. You know, to tell the story about Toyota in Texas, we really need to step back a little bit. In fact, about 60 years. So 60 plus years ago, we started importing vehicles and selling vehicles in the US. And then about 30 years ago, we started manufacturing them here as well. And today, you might know that almost 2/3 of the Toyota and Lexus vehicles sold here are made here in our network of 14 manufacturing plants in North America. 9 of those, and soon to be 10, right here in the US. But you know, the move to Texas was really about bringing the company together. You know, we had a sales headquarters in California, we had a manufacturing headquarters in Northern Kentucky and other corporate entities around the country. You know, it was really about bringing us together so we could innovate more, be faster, collaborate more, all those kind of good things. Once we made the decision to bring the company together, honestly, Texas was kind of an easy choice for us. You know, it was about the strong workforce here. Despite the fact that we moved 3,000 people here, we also hired over 1,200 people here. And we found our local hires here in Texas just to be outstanding. Secondly, it was about the outstanding business climate here in the state that we all know about, we all enjoy. And then finally, it was about the quality of life for our team members. And we've really found that to be an outstanding component of our move here. But of course, while our headquarters here is new, Toyota is not new to the state. We have our manufacturing plant in San Antonio where we produce the Tundra and Tacoma pickup trucks, along with 23 on-site supplier partners. We have our great partners at Gulf States Toyota in Houston. That have been in the state also for 50 plus years. And then we have, of course, our Toyota and Lexus dealers spread throughout the state. So all told, about 21,000 Texans are a part of our Toyota family. And from an economic standpoint, Grant Thornton did a study when our headquarters moved here and said that over the next decade, the move of our headquarters will have an economic impact of about $7 billion. So that's a big number, and we're really proud of that. But I think more than anything, we're about setting down our roots in the state, really becoming a good neighbor and a good citizen in all the communities, where we live and work.
Well, we're proud that you're here. I was leading the Bush Center when you all were contemplating coming here, and I remember being part of a chamber group to help sell Texas, and it was a full court press, and we're all proud that you all came here. Obviously, these are challenging times for employers, large and small, and the policy implications that are relevant to manufacturing really are quite amazing. A lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges. Talk about how you're dealing with, the COVID issues as an employer, using space, how you're thinking about your human capital, your employees, and then we'll talk about manufacturing. You all are so famous for just in time. I think probably invented it. And, where are we going in the future as it relates to manufacturing?
Well, Margaret, just like all businesses, COVID has had a substantial impact on us. And let me kind of share what we've been doing during the last couple of months in kind of three categories. First is that, automotive service and repair has been declared as essential business in every state, every community across the country. So that part of our business has continued to operate. So we operate a network of distribution facilities that provide, parts to all of our dealers so that, the essential workers in the medical field and in grocery stores and every place else, their vehicles can be maintained and repaired throughout this. So we're really proud of the fact that we've kept that part of the business going to support, the needs. It's really about mobility. It's there's many forms of mobility, but the reality is in the U.S., most people get around in automobiles. So that part of the business is essential, and we're proud to keep going with that. Secondly, you made reference to our manufacturing operations, and kind of the reverse, our manufacturing operations, we've put on pause for the last 6 weeks. We did that for a couple reasons. One is that we needed time put in place the protocols and the like to protect our team members and always put their health and safety first. But also there was a dramatic reduction in demand.
Sure.
People stopped buying vehicles at that point in time. Over the last 6 weeks or so, we've used this time to get ready for an eventual restart. And we are now here in mid-May restarting our manufacturing facilities. But to do this, a lot of things had to change. So of course, we did a lot of sanitation in our facilities and put in place protocols to keep them as sanitized as possible. We put in place a lot of things and changed a lot of things to allow for the physical distancing. Automotive assembly plants employ a lot of people. Some of them historically have been in close proximity. We've actually physically changed the layout of our plants, put in place physical barriers where team members would be in close proximity to protect them, when we come back to manufacturing. Also put in place all of the best practices as defined by the CDC and OSHA, things like face masks and temperature checks and all of that type of stuff. So we feel like we're ready to go and are confident we can keep our team members safe. And then finally, maybe the last category are our corporate offices, including our new headquarters here in Plano. In those locations, we've effectively put in place a work from home strategy. Hadn't really done that on a large scale before, like most companies, but we've been successful at it. We have found that we're able to be effective and productive, and really for the foreseeable future, we're going to continue doing this at our corporate locations where we're able to effectively do work from home.
Terrific. Toyota is famous for, and when I think of your brand, quality and innovation. And, we hear people use the expression, don't waste a crisis here in this COVID time. And obviously there's a lot of tragedy, a lot of challenge that is before us. But it's also, and when I think about education, this is certainly true, there's also opportunity for reinvention, for innovation, for new ways of thinking and doing things that we might not have done before. How do you look down the line and think about that? How might we think about the automobile industry going forward?
Well, Margaret, that's a great question. There's the old adage, necessity is the mother of invention. And I certainly think this crisis has allowed a lot of that to occur. When I think about just a couple of months ago, pre-COVID, when you talked about the auto industry, what everyone wanted to talk about was the future of mobility. In fact, even my company, declared back in January of 2018 that we were transitioning from a traditional automotive company to a mobility company. And we really defined that around 4 different areas. One was connected. Your vehicle's connected and you're always going to be connected to various services and the like. Secondly was autonomous, moving towards more autonomy in vehicles. Right. The third S is shared services, whether that be ride sharing or vehicle sharing. And fourth was electrification. So that's really what everyone talked about. But during those times, manufacturing never stopped. We continued to innovate. Think about things like advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing, all those types of things, while not getting the headlines, continued to evolve and develop. But we really hadn't scaled those things up substantially. This crisis has allowed us actually to scale those up. And let me give you a great example of that. I mentioned additive manufacturing, or another part of that is 3D printing. So we've had some of those pieces of equipment in some of our labs and engineering facilities and the like. We really put them to use during this pandemic to produce medical supplies, including face masks for healthcare workers. And we've been able to ramp up production. In fact, to date, we produced over 400,000 of those and supplied them to hospitals in Texas and across the country. And we're going beyond that. I think we'll eventually hit 500,000. But it really allowed us a chance and gave us a reason to scale up those technologies. And I think that's going to bring a lot of benefit to us in the future in automotive manufacturing as well.
Fabulous. Thank you for doing that. You know, the other thing that I'm observing is, you know, the private sector has really stepped up in major ways. And I think people are, you know, often we're sort of painted as, you know, fat cats or, you know, profiteers, or worried only about quarterly returns or whatever. But I'm so proud of the things that the private sector is doing quickly, responsibly, efficiently, effectively, just in time. And, you know, thank you for what you're doing in that regard. You mentioned a second ago, one of the major reasons that you came to Texas was your look at the workforce of Texas and what you were going to find here. I mean, we're 29 million people today, growing another 10 million or so by 2036, our bicentennial. And we think that we're getting older and younger and more diverse and whatnot, that, you know, our key to success, of course, is all about human capital. And I know that's something that you all, you know, really care deeply about as an organization. So talk about how you think about using your people, developing your people, especially in these times when we're working remotely.
Margaret, you know, one of the things that that is a core principle of the Toyota production system, or the Toyota way. We really have two core principles. One of them is continuous improvement, and the second is respect for people. And, you know, so at the core of that is developing our people. And we really felt also that we have an obligation to expand that outside of the company. In fact, we have a group in the company, we call them the Toyota Production System Support Center, that's been around for over 25 years now. And they take the things we've learned internally, how to be efficient, how to be productive, and we really look to engage with organizations outside of the company. Early on, you know, our engagements were typically with other companies, smaller, mid-sized companies, typically manufacturers. But as time went on, we learned that these same principles can be applied to nonprofits, government entities. So we worked through the years with food banks, with children's hospitals, you know, a lot of different things, sharing these practices and really sharing the know-how. And the intent is really to help to develop the employees of these organizations so they can take those learnings and can improve their operations, can be more effective, deliver a better quality product and service, those types of things. And kind of in the spirit of our conversation about how COVID has changed things, we've really taken that and applied it to this crisis as well. You know, working to improve the efficiency and the setup of the drive-through testing centers in the state. You know, we have also worked with some of the PPE producers to help improve the output of those critically important products and the like. Improving the supply chains of medical device producers. So we've been able to take those learnings. Some of that we're doing virtually or remotely, where travel's difficult and the like. But here in the Dallas community, we've been able to do a lot of work with boots on the ground. Of course, maintaining safety and social distancing and all those good things. But I think we really kind of combined both the virtual environment and the traditional environment on the ground to help support. And it's all about sharing that know-how in order to improve our community, improve whether it be businesses or government agencies across the state.
This is a time when we're obviously watching our government in action and looking to them at all levels for leadership and consistency and whatnot. We at Texas 2036 are preparing for the next legislative session around these big issues of health and infrastructure and workforce and justice and the way our government performs. What advice do you have for our policymakers, our state policymakers, as we look to pretty significant budget gaps and how we ought to be thinking about those first principles, those most important things that policymakers should have top of mind?
Well, Margaret, first of all, I really want to thank our leadership in the state and our leadership in all of our local communities as well for their response overall to this crisis. Nobody had a playbook for this.
Sure.
And, we're learning as we go, and their commitment to the health and safety of the citizens in Texas is really impressive. With that said, though, there are many challenges, as you reference, and with next year's legislative sessions, of course, there's budgetary challenges. We're going to have to make some tough decisions in terms of priorities. One of the things that I would encourage to be at the center of this is a lot of the things that we're learning through this crisis, how to be innovative, how to be efficient and productive. Education is at the center of everything we do in Toyota, and I know that is certainly the case of Texas 2036 as well. How to deliver an effective education to students throughout the state facing budget challenges we face and is going to be one of the key questions. I think we've learned a lot. I know as a parent of three children who are learning virtually at home right now, it presents a lot of challenges. There's good points to it and there's challenging points, but I think we're going to learn a lot through this. And part of what should come from that is ways to become more efficient and more effective so that we can continue to deliver outstanding education for the students in Texas, but do it in a way that is always at the cutting edge of leading thinking in terms of the best ways to deliver.
Chris, you all are model corporate citizens, and I appreciate your time today for sharing your wisdom with us. If I may ask you for whatever parting comments you have before we wrap up and get to our business today. Thank you very much for being with us.
Well, Margaret, thanks so much for this opportunity. It's been a great pleasure to be with you. And really, my closing thoughts are really just one of optimism. Our nation will survive this. It's the greatest crisis I've seen, and certainly in my lifetime. We'll survive. Texas has always been the bright, shining star in our nation. I think we will lead the nation in the recovery and into the future. Our economy is very diverse. It's the 10th largest economy in the world. But more than that, I think it's the spirit we have as a state, that spirit of optimism, the can-do spirit that's really going to lead us out of this. Many challenges ahead, there's no doubt about this, but I have full confidence that Texas will continue to be that bright, shining light for our nation, for all of our citizens. And thank you to you and to Tom and the tremendous work of Texas 2036. You're going to lead the way for us in terms of where we need to put our resources and our priorities as thought leaders. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for your support, leadership, and for being with us today. All the best, Chris, and go Toyota.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you all for watching Straight Talk Texas. If you have questions and feedback, we want to hear from you. Email us at straighttalk@texas2036.org and follow us on social media and sign up to receive our emails. Visit texas2036.org for more information. Until next time, wishing you and your family well.